In the heart of the 17th century London, a city vibrant with life found itself in the grip of an unseen killer. Imagine the city, teeming with energy and bustle, suddenly slowing to a halt. The vibrant markets once filled with traders and townsfolk now ominously quiet. The laughter and chatter that once echoed through the narrow streets, replaced by a deafening silence. The Thames, the city's lifeblood, reflecting not the lively cityscape, but the somber mood that had descended. A specter was stalking the city, unseen yet omnipresent, its icy touch bringing dread and despair. This specter, this phantom, was the Great Plague. It arrived quietly, almost unnoticed, like a thief in the night, but as days turned into weeks, its presence could no longer be ignored. The people of London, once oblivious, were now besieged by an enemy they could neither see nor understand. The initial reaction was disbelief, a refusal to accept that such a calamity could befall them. But as the death toll rose, so did the fear. The once vibrant city was now a city of dread. The narrow streets once filled with life were now the pathways of the unseen killer. The bubbling energy of the city was replaced with a tense uncertainty, a foreboding stillness that hung heavy in the air. The shadowy figure of the plague swept across the city, indiscriminate and ruthless, touching all walks of life. From the wealthy merchant in his grand house to the humble laborer in his modest dwelling, none were spared. The plague was no respecter of status or wealth. It was the great equalizer, striking fear into the hearts of all. As the city fell silent, the shadow of the plague loomed larger, marking the beginning of a dark chapter in London's history. The bustling metropolis, once the heart of a great empire, was now at the mercy of the unseen killer. But even in the face of such adversity, the spirit of London was not easily broken. The resilience and courage of its people would be tested, but as we'll see, they were not defeated. As the city braced itself against the onslaught, it prepared to fight back, to reclaim its streets from the specter that had taken hold. As the plague tightened its hold, the bustling city of London transformed into a ghost town. 17th century London, once a hub of vibrant trade and lively chatter, was now shrouded in an eerie silence, the cobblestone streets echoing with the chilling whispers of the Great Plague. The once lively marketplaces teeming with vendors hawking their wares and buyers haggling for the best prices now stood desolate. The shutters were closed, the stalls abandoned, the once thriving heart of commerce had flatlined. The Thames, once a bustling waterway, sat eerily still. Its waters, which had reflected the hustle and bustle of the city, were now as silent as the city itself. The river, a symbol of life and prosperity, had turned into a symbol of despair and death. The plague had turned the city of London into a ghost town, its streets devoid of life and laughter. The once packed taverns and inns, known for their jovial atmosphere and merry patrons, were now silent, their doors locked, their windows boarded up. The sounds of music and laughter, which once filled the air, were replaced by the deafening silence of despair. Churches, once filled with faithful worshippers, now stood empty. The church bells, which once rang to call the faithful to prayer, now tolled to announce the passing of yet another soul to the plague. The gathering places of hope and faith now served as grim reminders of the city's sorrow. The city's people, once bustling about their daily lives, were now hiding in their homes, the fear of the invisible enemy keeping them indoors. The crowded streets, once filled with the chatter of children playing, the calls of vendors, and the clopping of horse-drawn carriages, were now silent. The only sound that could be heard was the distant tolling of the death bell, a chilling reminder of the city's grim reality. The plague had brought London to its knees, its vibrant life force drained away, leaving behind a city in despair. The once vibrant city stood silent, its heartbeats drowned in the looming dread of the plague. Beneath the overarching dread, individual stories of survival and loss painted a poignant picture. In the midst of the chaos, the Smith family, like many others, was caught up in the grip of the Great Plague. Their tale, pieced together from diary entries and historical records, is one of courage, desperation, and the indomitable will to survive. The Smiths were a family of 5, living in a modest home nestled in the winding alleys of the city. The patriarch, Thomas Smith, was a hard-working cobbler. His wife, Margaret, was known for her warm heart and the inviting aroma of freshly baked bread that perpetually filled their home. They had 3 children, each as lively and full of dreams as the next. But as the plague tightened its grip on London, their lives were irrevocably changed. The bustling marketplace was replaced with eerie silence. The laughter of children playing in the streets was replaced with the tolling of the death bell. One by one the Smith family fell ill. First, it was the youngest, sweet little Alice, then Margaret and the two older boys. Thomas in his diary wrote about his helplessness as he watched his family suffer, their bodies racked with fever, their spirits dwindling as the days passed. Despite the grim circumstances, they clung to hope. Thomas tirelessly cared for his family, refusing to let despair take hold. He wrote of small victories, like when Alice managed to eat a few spoonfuls of broth, or when Margaret smiled despite her fever. But the plague was relentless. Margaret and the two boys didn't survive. Their loss was a blow that shattered the family's hope. Yet, Thomas and Alice held on. They survived, carrying with them the memory of those they lost. Their story is but one among thousands. Each tale echoes the same themes of despair and loss, resilience and survival. It was a time when death walked the streets of London, but amidst the fear and sorrow, life found a way to persist. In the face of despair, the human spirit held on, clinging to the thin thread of hope. In the midst of the darkness, a beacon of hope emerged, the Great Fire of London. As the city grappled with the relentless onslaught of the plague, the twist of fate came not in the form of a medical breakthrough, but an inferno. A fire that would rage through the city, consuming everything in its path, incinerating a significant portion of the infected area, along with the plague-infected fleas and rats. The fire started on September 2nd, in the wee hours at a bakery on Pudding Lane. Fanned by strong winds, it quickly spread, turning buildings, streets, and lives into ashes. The city, already reeling under the weight of the plague, now faced another catastrophe. This was a time of chaos and despair, yet it was also a turning point. The fire, as destructive as it was, played an inadvertent role in stemming the plague's spread. The rodents and fleas, carriers of the disease, perished in the flames, breaking the cycle of transmission. The fire hence became the city's unlikely savior, a purifier that cleansed the city of its invisible enemy. But the road to recovery was not without its challenges. London was a city scarred and charred, its landscape altered, its people displaced. The fire had left nothing untouched. Yet, in the face of this overwhelming destruction, the resilience of London's people shone through. They began to rebuild, brick by brick, their efforts fueled by a newfound hope and determination. The city's authorities also took proactive steps to prevent future outbreaks. Stricter quarantine measures were put in place and plague-infected households were marked, their inhabitants isolated. In addition, the city's structure was transformed, with the narrow, winding streets giving way to wider, cleaner ones, reducing the chances of another disease outbreak. It's important to remember that while the fire brought about immediate changes, the transformation of London was a slow, painstaking process. The city had to rise from the ashes, literally and metaphorically, its people bearing the scars of the plague and the fire, their spirit unbroken. From the ashes of despair, a new hope arose, changing the course of the plague. This turning point marked a new chapter in London's history, a testament to the city's resilience, its ability to rise from the ashes and its unwavering spirit in the face of adversity. From the ashes of the plague and the fire, London rose, a testament to the resilience of its people. In the wake of the Great Fire, the city stood charred and desolate, yet the spirit of London was not extinguished. From the rubble, the citizens began the arduous task of rebuilding. Brick by brick, street by street, the city awoke from its nightmare and started its journey towards renewal. The fire, although destructive, had inadvertently served a purpose. It had cleansed the city of the plague-carrying rats, halting the spread of the disease. The survivors, having faced the worst, found themselves in the throes of a new beginning. The city, once shrouded in despair, was now a beacon of hope and resilience. This period of history bears witness to the unbreakable spirit of Londoners. The hardship they faced was monumental, yet they persevered. They rebuilt their homes, their lives, and their city. Their unwavering determination painted a vivid picture of human resilience, an enduring testament to the strength of character and will. As we look upon the modern city of London, it's hard to imagine the trials and tribulations of its past. The bustling streets, the towering buildings, the vibrant culture, all stand as a testament to the city's ability to rise from the ashes. The echoes of the past resonate in the city's heartbeat, reminding us of the indomitable spirit that has carried it through centuries. The Great Plague of London was a catastrophic event that reshaped the city's history. Yet, it was also a catalyst for change, a turning point that led to the birth of a new London. The resilience and fortitude of its people transformed a city in despair into a symbol of hope and renewal. The Great Plague of London, a tale of survival, loss and resilience, is not just a chapter in the city's history, it's a testament to the indomitable spirit of humanity, a reminder that even in the face of adversity we rise.